What? 500 quid? Hey y'all, welcome back to Robe Trotting. Today we are talking about an interesting topic of how to manage your money while you're living in Denmark, particularly as a foreigner. We know it's difficult to move to another country and have to figure out your banking, your finances, and what you do with your money in a foreign country, another language, and it's something you kind of take for granted that you know how to do where you come from, but need to relearn in a new country. And this video is sponsored by Wise, formerly TransferWise. They have been crucial in helping us navigate the early part of our expat experience, and we still use them today when it comes to international transfers. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
So before we get into the banking side of things, I think it's good to kind of level set on how things work with money here in Denmark. The currency here is known as the Danish krone, which might be surprising since Denmark is in the EU, but they don't use the euro here. It's the same terminology used in most of the Nordic countries. For currency exchange, you'll get used to doing a little math in your head. If you're used to euros, 100 krona is roughly 13 euros. And for us Americans, we've always used the rule of thumb that 100 krona is going to be 15 bucks US. Works pretty good for us, though it's going to fluctuate obviously up and down depending on how the day is going. Another important thing to note is that Denmark is largely a cashless society. I mean, honestly, for us, I can't remember the last time that we carried any Danish cash in our pockets.
Yeah, if you see somebody using cash at a store or walking around with cash anywhere in Denmark, they're almost definitely a tourist.
Yeah, so that means that you're going to be using your card all over the place, and even the smallest boutiques and restaurants and street food places are going to take a contactless card, or if not that, they may use a program called Mobile Pay. We'll talk a bit about that later in the video too. But all of this is predicated on actually getting into the Danish banking system.
Yeah, and getting into the Danish banking system means opening a Danish bank account. But in Denmark, it's not quite as easy as it is in the US, or as easy as you may think. So in the US, you basically just need some form of ID and like $20 and they'll let you open a bank account. But in Denmark, there are a few more hoops that you need to jump through. And part of this is that banks kind of treat you as a nuisance. There's really no incentive for them to hold on to your money or manage your assets because in Denmark, interest rates are so low. In fact, they're often negative interest rates. So there's really nothing that banks get out of managing your money for you. This also means that they are not going to be catering to foreigners. Now, you will be able to find some banks that have an English language website, and that's probably where you'll start, and then maybe move to a more traditional Danish bank later. Now, when it comes to actually opening the bank account, that's not quite as simple either. The first thing you need is a CPR number. It's like a social security number, and says that you live in Denmark, and without that, you're stuck using credit cards, paying foreign transaction fees, etc., because you can't open a bank account. The second thing that you need to do is have some kind of proof of residency. So you need to have a rental contract or something showing that you have an address in Denmark in order to open your bank account. Besides your address, you also have to have some kind of proof of income. So this could be your work contract, or if you're studying in Denmark, this can be the proof that you are enrolled in classes or in a university to study in Denmark.
Yeah, and I have to watch out when you do go into these banks, again, because they're not catering towards the people that just have a savings account with them. Realize there may be some extra fees that you have to watch out for. It's typical to see things like monthly maintenance fees, and especially now with negative interest rates, there's now maximums on how much money you can have in your savings account before you start having to actually pay interest back to the bank for them to hold your money. So be careful, especially if you're used to a place like we were in the US where you get treated a little bit nicer for having money in some bank. It's not the case here at all. It's almost like they're providing a service for you out of some sort of obligation.
Now that you have your Danish bank account set up, you're going to have to fill it with money. We can't help you with that necessarily. You should get a job to do that. But we can say that when that happens, it'll be done through probably a monthly direct deposit into your Danish bank account. Now, of course, that's going to take a little bit of time to set up. So you're almost always going to be in instances as a foreigner living in Denmark where you need to move money from your account abroad into your new Danish bank account because you're going to need money to live on.
Yeah, and we had a specific case too that I'm sure a lot of the expats have, which is I was still getting paid by my company into our US account while obviously all of our expenses in life was happening here in Denmark. So that meant that we had to move money regularly from the US over to Denmark to be able to cover our expenses here. In fact, my bank back in the US wouldn't even do international wire transfers. I think we looked at yours once to do that. So it was really a challenge for us to find a cheap and effective way to move money over. So that's why we're really appreciative that Wise, again, formerly TransferWise, reached out to us to sponsor this video because we can confidently say that we've used that service over a dozen times to move money back and forth between the US and Denmark, depending on where we have our money sitting and where our money has to go. And it was always the cheapest option that we could find. It was always effective. In a couple of days, the money showed up, and it was super easy to use.
Yeah, I think it's like 7 times cheaper than doing a regular wire transfer with your bank, which I think everybody knows is very expensive. And the great thing is that they can hold up to 50 different currencies, and you can move money all over the world between 80 different countries. So if you're an expat, somebody living abroad, especially a foreigner in Denmark, but really anywhere around the world, I think you'll find, like us, that Wise is a tremendous asset and a great way to do it.
Yeah, and so for you guys here in the rope trading community, they actually have a link sitting in the description below that you can go on to. And with that link, you'll be able to do a free transfer of up to 500 British pounds.
What, mate? 500 quid?
So now you've understood how Danish money works. You have your bank account organized. You have money sitting in the account. So now you're going to go buy things. Again, like we said before, Denmark is largely cashless. So that means that you're going to be using your honestly contactless card or Apple Pay or something like that for any transaction you're going to do, whether it's in a big store or some little boutique. It's really the way that everything is paid for, and we use cash almost never in anything that we do.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Denmark is not a country that's big on credit cards. Definitely not like the US, where a lot of people are in credit card debt. Danes generally avoid that kind of thing. Now, it doesn't mean that if you want a credit card, there won't be one available, but keep in mind it's going to be pretty simple and transactional. You won't have huge credit limits and a ton of rewards. You won't see them advertised everywhere like you do in the US. And, you know, it's probably more common to just finance something. A lot of stores will have financing options. So if you are moving over here and you have to make some of those big initial purchases, electronics, furniture, maybe even a car, you can find all kinds of ways to finance that with the store that you're making the purchase from. So that's usually the simplest way.
Yeah, and it's funny, with the credit cards, we found that if they do have rewards, it's for things like travel insurance as opposed to cash back and incentives like we have in the US. Another important thing here is you're going to hear something called mobile pay, and this is essentially how you can do peer-to-peer money sharing. It's a national program that everyone's involved with, but again, you have to have a Danish bank account to be able to work with this. You'll find that this is how you're going to pay for things at, say, flea markets, or if you're buying things on Facebook Marketplace or other secondhand places like this. And also, here's one of the funny things as well, is that in Denmark, where culturally, if you go out with friends, you're going to split the bill. It's a really easy way to split things, where you can have your friends request money from you and whatever your portion of the bill is along the way as well.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much to Wise for sponsoring the video and sharing this link with us so that our viewers can save on their first wire transfer with Wise up to 500 British pounds. Make sure you look for that link in the video description and give the video a like if you enjoyed talking about how to manage your money in Denmark. Also, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can be told when new videos drop, usually on Thursdays. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.
Bye.